On a dark November night in 1999, a 66-year-old man named Alexis Collingran opened the massive iron gate of an old cemetery in Edinburgh, Scotland, called Greyfriars Kirkyard. This cemetery was not an ordinary one. It was one of the oldest and most famous cemeteries in the country. The cemetery was completely dark except for some old iron lanterns lighting the stone path running through the middle. Collingran opened the gate and started walking along the path, with gravestones dating back to the 17th century on both sides. In the distance, he saw a large Gothic-style church right in the center of the cemetery. At first glance, the cemetery looked normal, though somewhat eerie. But Collingran knew there was something far worse beneath the ground, a whole underground crypt used for mass burials of thousands who had died in horrible ways centuries ago, many of whom were buried without markers. Collingran paused, feeling the heavy atmosphere weighing on his heart. He wanted to turn back but was there on official request from the city council to perform a ritual to expel evil spirits haunting the place. Collingran was not only a priest but also a spiritualist with psychic abilities who claimed to communicate with spirits. Despite his fear, he felt a responsibility to help the people of the city. He wasn't alone. A journalist and a photographer had come with him to document the event. As they moved inside, they reached a place called the Black Mausoleum, an old stone structure on the cemetery's edge, with a domed roof and a stone staircase leading down to the underground crypt. Built in the late 17th century, it looked terrifying. Every step closer made Collingran's stomach feel heavy, as if a huge stone was pressing down on him. He stopped about 3 meters from the mausoleum entrance, unable to move closer. Looking at the journalist and photographer, he saw they seemed unaffected, almost disbelieving. Before entering, he asked the photographer to take a picture of the mausoleum. She raised her camera and took the photo. Collingran read the name carved above the entrance: George Mackenzie. His heartbeat quickened. Who was George Mackenzie? In the 17th century, Mackenzie was a Scottish lord working for the King of England, enforcing strict religious laws unpopular among the people. A rebel group called the Covenanters had opposed these laws, and in 1679 staged a large revolt which failed terribly. Mackenzie captured over 1,000 people and took them to a large field that would later become Greyfriars Cemetery. There, he imprisoned and tortured them for weeks, starving them, killing any who tried to escape or resist. He executed victims by beheading and placing their heads on spikes around the field. The area soon became littered with decomposed bodies and bloodied heads on spikes. Within months, everyone in the field was dead and buried in a massive mass grave by Mackenzie himself. Years later, Greyfriars Cemetery was built above this mass grave. Shockingly, after his death, Mackenzie was buried in a beautiful tomb just steps away from the victims he had tortured for 300 years. The cemetery remained quiet and uneventful until 1998. A year before Collingran's arrival. That year, a homeless man broke into the Black Mausoleum, accidentally fell into the underground mass grave, and disturbed the resting place of Mackenzie's victims. From that moment, a curse began. Visitors to the cemetery reported terrifying experiences: being pushed, grabbed, choked, scratched, or burned by invisible forces. Stories spread that the spirit of Mackenzie's victims had been released and began attacking people. One night, a young woman was found unconscious near the mausoleum, her neck bruised as if strangled, unable to remember what had happened. The city council decided to act, hiring Collingran to perform an exorcism on George Mackenzie's spirit. Standing in front of the mausoleum, Colin Gran felt his heart pounding. The place radiated pure evil. Though he was meant to enter the crypt and confront Mackenzie's spirit, he suddenly froze, paralyzed by fear. He told the journalist and photographer he couldn't continue and instead chose to try to free the tortured souls in the field. For hours, he walked circles around the field, sprinkling holy water and chanting prayers. The photographer, Susan Pearl, documented everything. At 2 a.m., exhausted, Colin Gran admitted failure. He managed to free about 200 souls, but many remained trapped, and he had no strength left. As they prepared to leave, Colin Gran suddenly felt he must continue. Back near the church, between the mausoleum and the field, he lit 12 candles arranged in a circle around a large cross formed by gravestones. Standing inside the circle, he prayed loudly. The candle flames flickered wildly without wind, the atmosphere charged with something terrifying. Colin Gran raised one candle toward the mausoleum, chanting louder as the flames danced like possessed. Susan and the journalist watched in horror. In a moment, Susan snapped a photo. The flash illuminated the whole cemetery for seconds. Then Colin Gran collapsed, nearly unconscious, whispering, "It will kill me. It will kill me." Susan looked at the photo on her camera and zoomed in. Behind Colin Gran, in the church's left window, a window that was supposed to be locked and empty, was a shadowy figure staring right at him. The figure's features were clear enough to terrify. This was the ghost of George Mackenzie watching Colin Gran, the very spirit that attacked him. The photo was the only proof, though some say it could be a trick of light. Soon after, Colin Gran died suddenly without explanation. He had been healthy but passed away mysteriously. To this day, many visitors to Greyfriars Kirkyard report scratches, bruises, feeling pushed or choked by an unseen presence. The ghost of George Mackenzie is considered one of the most dangerous spirits in the world. And for those asking, can people really see spirits? And is exorcism truly real? Let me tell you, there are many documented stories from around the world that prove there are things beyond our understanding as humans. Things we can't explain with science or logic. What happened with Colin isn't just a horror story. It's a tale that shows not everything needs to be seen or touched to exist. And in the end, if you ever find yourself in an old place or an abandoned graveyard, and you feel like something is watching you, remember Colin's story. And remember, not every door is meant to be opened, and not every spirit wants to be left in peace. And that's it for tonight. Sleep well, or maybe, after hearing this, you won't sleep so easily. Smiling face with horns. See you in the next episode. And hey, watch out for that shadow behind you.